I'm Trevor, for those who haven't seen my introduction. So, my definition of religion is something that people believe in that is generally considered to be greater than themselves, and that helps in answering questions that are often unanswerable. And I think the purpose of religion is just that, to answer questions that are unanswerable or were unanswerable at one time. Um, so yeah, that's basically it. As throughout history, I think the purpose of religion has changed. Uh, I mean, as Christianity or Abrahamic religion kind of spread out, I think that people realized the power that it had and used it to make people do what they wanted. Uh, it was also used to educate in different ways. I have heard, I think this was in my art history class, but that like things like stained glass windows in old churches were made with images because they were meant to tell stories, because most people who went to church were uneducated and illiterate, and so they would see the story and have a better understanding of what they were being told. And then nowadays, I think, I don't know, I think religion has a lot of purposes nowadays. Not all of them are good. I think a lot of it is used as, or I think religion is often used as justification to justify people's biases, and to kind of fill in the gaps. I mean, if you've heard of the God of the Gaps argument, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. If you've never heard of the God of the Gaps argument, it essentially is that God was the answer for questions that we couldn't answer. But as time has continued, technology has gotten better. We've been able to answer more and more questions. That gap has gotten smaller and smaller. And so we now know that God is not the source of, like lightning. You know, I mean, there is no Zeus. There is no Thor, etc., etc. So, yeah, I was raised in a semi-Christian household. I mean, so the vast majority of Americans are what you call non-denominational, non-church-going Christians. And most Christians have never read the Bible. I have a hard time considering somebody a Christian if they don't actually know what they're basing their beliefs on. I mean, they are going from word of mouth. And so, but they're still considered Christians. So that's the household I was raised in. My mom she did push Christianity a little bit, because I can remember as a young kid, like my mom hired this lady to come over and read different Bible stories to me. But I don't remember much about that. However, my paternal grandparents are extremely religious, and they had me going to church and youth group and church camp and reading the Bible and all this sort of things, or all those sort of things. But as I got older, once I left my mom's house and set out on my own, I just wanted to know more about religion. So I started reading things about different religions, like Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, others that I can't quite, like shamanism even. It was just a bunch of different things. So I was kind of spiritual for a while. I don't feel that I ever actually believed in Christianity. It's what I was raised with. It's what I knew. So it's just kind of what I thought life was. But I don't know that I ever actually believed it. And same with the spirituality, as I started branching out and learning more about just different things having to do with beliefs like that. But then in my mid-20s, I stumbled upon a debate with Christopher Hitchens, and I can't remember who the religious debater was, but and I got really interested, so I started watching a bunch of religious debates from a variety of different people, and what they said made more sense to me than what religious people had to say. And I know that's not true for everybody. That was just how it impacted me. So at the same time, I was also reading a book by Michio Kaku, who is a like semi-famous physicist, astrophysicist, and that pushed me into an interest in science. So I started learning more about science, especially when it came to physics and astrophysics, cosmetology. I'm just kidding. And yeah, the older I got, and the more I watched, and the more I read, the more I came to understand my own personal understanding that I just didn't see a necessity for any sort of religion. As time moves forward, we're able to answer more and more questions. It seemed better to say I don't know rather than it was God. And because there might be a point that we answer all of the questions, there might be a point where we don't, but these beliefs were just, or my lack of belief was just reinforced as I started reading philosophy. I started off with Sartre, and then that would lead me into hearing all the different arguments, that a lot of which we're going to read about, and that totally, those made sense to me, like the greater good argument, the God of the gaps, the problem of evil, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope we get to discuss these things at one point, because I do have opinions on them. If not, that's cool. And I'm very interested to hear what the book has to say about this stuff. No, I don't engage in religious activities. I take part in things like Halloween and Christmas because I love the holidays. I love the movies and the food, and I mean, fall and winter are my favorite seasons. But no, I don't take part in any sort of religious. I don't even celebrate Easter. Yeah, so no, I don't. There's no holy books or religious leaders that I follow. Even people, like, I don't really have heroes or idols or people that I look up to. There are people that I respect, and that, like Christopher Hitchens, for example. But overall, no, I don't. Describing this is very difficult. So I consider myself to be morally ambiguous because I do not believe in objective morality. I don't believe that stealing is always wrong, murder is always wrong. I mean, of course, there are things that I consider to be wrong and that I would always consider to be wrong, but obviously that doesn't apply to everybody. There are some people who do not view things as wrong. I mean, like, sociopaths and psychopaths often do not have a sense of morality. So, like, how can it be objective? Yeah, I mean, my personal philosophy is just not to hurt the people that I love in any sort of way, emotionally, physically, and, don't steal from these people, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I strongly believe that people are not born good, nor are they born bad. I believe that people are born generally indifferent. Uh, that's why most people are not involved in doing things for other people. And I believe very firmly that being a good person requires a lot of work. That people who go out of their way to actually help are truly good people. I don't believe that stopping once to help somebody change a tire makes you a good person. That's a good action, but I don't think that that defines you, because it's one action. I think that you have to maintain and constantly do these things in order to be a good person. A truly good person. Most of us are just like in the middle. Not necessarily bad, not necessarily good. We just exist and do things. For example, I saw this video on TikTok the other day of this lady talking about how nobody holds the door open anymore. And she's like, nobody's kind anymore. And I commented on that video and I was like, well, I don't necessarily think that holding the door open makes you a kind person. I mean, because that's one small thing and does not define your personality. You could be a terrible person. Just because you hold the door open does not justify any of that stuff. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to offend anybody because, like I said, in my written response, I empathize and I understand why people would believe in religion. I mean, it's a complicated world. And it has a lot of answers and it justifies a lot of things, but especially when it comes to like Abrahamic religions, if you have ever read the Bible, God himself does not follow a lot of his own teachings. Jesus was a good dude, but God himself, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, has killed a lot of people. He commends slavery and tells you how to do it. All the push that goes on in society about like anti-gay or anti-LGBTQI plus generally stems from religion. So I think that it's more detrimental. Like a big thing within politics right now is that America is a Christian nation. And it could be, I have heard that the founders were actually deists and not necessarily Christian, but I can't verify that one way or another. But even if the country was founded by Christians, like the way that it is, the way the Constitution is written, was so that religious belief would not be the center focus on how our country was run. But so many people nowadays are pushing that we need to be a Christian nation and have these, like, follow Christian teachings. And I don't agree with that. I think that people should be allowed to exist however they want, so long as they're not hurting anybody. And that's how life should be. I look forward to whoever responds to this, if anybody. I know this video was kind of long. I apologize for that. I can't really help it. And I hope that it wasn't too long. So thank you for listening. I look forward to hearing your guys' responses too.